continue to have a challenge increasing the overall number of referees and assistant referees. Why do we have this challenge, and what are the effects? 1. Challenge: abuse from players and spectators, fans toward referees. 2. Use of insulting language, which drives fans away from supporting football. 3. The current referees consider leaving the game in frustration. 4. The potential referees decide not to join. 5. The quality of refereeing across the game declines. 6. Coaches and players become frustrated. And 7. Football suffers. We have to stop this trend. And one of the ways we see this happening is increasing the referees that are available to football. So from this standpoint, we have the current state that we are very much aware of. A very small pool of referees, 22 referees including 2 women, across the entire spectrum of football is a challenge. We have a very aging pool of referees. And to be perfectly honest with you, we have 3 referees that are under the age of 40 in that pool that we spoke about. So there is not enough referees to comfortably officiate all of our games on any given week. And then we have referees doing multiple games. So you see what pressure and what stress goes along with that. So why do we need to increase referees? Primarily because of the current state. And if we don't, we can see what the future of refereeing will be. Yeah.
Yes, good morning. I just want to add to the comments by the General Secretary of the BFA, Mr. David Sabir. As the chair of leagues and competition, I want to thank all the clubs for getting the season off to a start, but to increase the standard of the quality of matches, and to aid the players and coaches and even the fans that want to see a good quality match. We do need referees. And on all the points that were based by the General Secretary, it's very important that we now reach out to the general public once again to say, if you want to be part of this global game and even locally, you can play a role not only by being a coach or a player, but you can play a role by being a referee in the middle, an assistant referee, or a match commissioner. There are a lot of opportunities. There's a large pool of female players that are not currently playing at this moment due to the summer league being new to them, and we're asking them to come out and expose themselves to the art of refereeing. There are also individuals during these challenging economic times, because you do get compensated for being a referee. There's a large pool of Bermudians, as we read in the daily paper, that are out of work. There's an opportunity for you to re-educate yourselves and to give back to the sport that you love and want to attend and be a role in that. And also, there are many youngsters who aren't able to get a job after school due to the economic situation and challenges, and that may not play football on a regular basis on the weekend or football club, and they can also become a referee. So there are a large number of individuals that can support the game, but the one thing that we do need is bodies. There's no such thing as a referee factory. You cannot build a referee like a block of Lego. You actually have to develop, educate, and assist individuals that want to officiate in the middle or on the side as the AR, and we're here to assist you with that. And I'll now ask Mr. Linda Rayner and Mr. Carl Simons, who have gone through the art of refereeing and still come out and support when they can, to actually elaborate on what refereeing can do for you as an individual.
As Mr. Sabir and Mr. Blankendow have highlighted, there are some challenges for us as referees in Bermuda. For me, refereeing became a second career for me. I stopped playing at an early age because of a knee injury, and decided I still wanted to do something with the game, and I got interested in refereeing. And it's benefited me because it's allowed me to travel to tournaments in the Caribbean and in Canada. It's allowed me to meet other referees from different countries that I would never have met. Being a FIFA referee is a rewarding experience. It's not the easiest job to do because everybody doesn't like, no one likes a referee. You know, we always joke with each other saying that if we can annoy both sets of players, then maybe we've done something right. But it's rewarding. It's, you know, despite the name calling, the threats and whatnot, it is rewarding. I've enjoyed it. As you all know, I probably left and come back to Bermuda refereeing maybe 3 times. And primarily it's because I've missed it. I've just started back this season after a 3-year absence, and I've enjoyed it. I mean, I've been out to some games. I refereed some games during the summer for the national squad, as they were preparing, and it was from there that I decided that, okay, I'll give it another go for the season. Barring any injuries, I hope to be there at the end of the season and probably onwards as well.
Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning. First of all, Mr. Sabir, Mr. Blankendown, Linden. First of all, let me say that I was fortunate enough to started refereeing back in 1989, and I actually served with the referees, served on the executive committee for a number of years. And I think the most rewarding experience I had as a referee was I had an opportunity to do Olympic qualifiers in Jamaica. And like Mr. Rayner mentioned earlier, you get an opportunity to actually meet and work with other referees from different jurisdictions. And I think to become a referee, it's an experience that you'll never forget. Like I said, I did it for 17 years, and it was an experience I never forget. And even up to now, I still communicate with some of those referees that are there. In 2002, the Bermuda Football Association sent me to England to Lilleshore, and I became a referee instructor. And that experience by itself, I worked with 32 other senior referees on becoming an instructor, working with identifying some of the rules and regulations in the game, how the game has changed. I have been out of the game for some time, and mainly because of my physical character. You know, you have to know your limitations. But I still follow football, and I would encourage anyone, any youngster, and I encourage youngsters. You know, you might not be the best footballer, but to get involved in refereeing. Refereeing is a very rewarding experience. You need to get involved. Now, the Bermuda Football Association cannot function without sufficient referees. It's very, very difficult to arrange matches, and Mr. Rain and I both have been there, where, you know, we've refereed down a line on one game at 1 o'clock and end up doing in the middle at 3 o'clock. And that's extremely challenging. It's extremely challenging for the referees to do.
You know, health and fitness, that's a very key thing, getting involved in football, in particular being a referee. Leadership, because obviously you are controlling the environment inside the field. So you're responsible for the sort of guidance, if you will, over 22 players, as well as the officials from the club and the reserves. But also you have an influence on the way the spectating fans perceive the game as going. So that's fantastic. Contribution to football's future. It's amazing. If we don't have referees, you can see the future of football will be in jeopardy. So you actually play a role in keeping it sustainable. You get the chance to graduate through different levels. Come in as a beginner, and then you can end up being a top referee, such as Mr. Rayner and Mr. Simons have been throughout their careers. Big picture. People always say, well, where can we go beyond Bermuda? Nothing like the international list of FIFA referees. That's a very select list of people who have been deemed by the National Association as being competent enough to serve the game internationally. And those opportunities, I mean, you heard from these gentlemen who say they've done World Cup matches, they've done Olympic qualifying matches. There are a ton of matches that happen at all age levels in CFU, that's Caribbean Football Association Union. So we've got a real opportunity in Bermuda to have people graduate from out of our system right along through.
First question would be, why? Why wait until the season starts? Are we now having a press conference about referees?
As the chairman of leagues and competitions and having a discussion with the Bermuda Referees Association president recently, it was identified that there was a lack of referees, and the action is taken, having just found out from the Bermuda Referees Association that there was a shortage. The BFA is to assist the referees, but we are not the Bermuda Referees Association, but they aid the game by offering their assistance, and together we have to work on their partnership. And there's no time as now to make it better. We could have done it earlier, but today we are here to call for the need of referees.
Can I come in? Also, that's a very good question. But you know, we're in football now. Prior to football, there's other distractions, vacations, cricket, you know, We're now in football. And we see now, as we've done every year, the continuing impact, the challenges as I spoke about earlier. We continue to have the challenge of growing the number of referees. So we're in it now. It's topical. It's serious. And we are making the approach. It's not whether now or later is better, it's now. And if we don't do anything about it now, we'll have this conversation in December. And we'll have it again at the end of the season. And we'll have it again next season. Right, so we are now in football. Everybody who's in part of football, who loves football, who cares about football, who can contribute to football, hear the message now. If we don't grow the number of referees, as of this moment, we will have some struggles.
Is this the worst problem's been in recent years, do you feel, the shortage?
I've been part of the association now for about 8 to 10 years. I think it's been a continuous decline. And every year we put up the call maybe 2 or 3 times a season prior to. And it's just a gradual decline that, mainly I think due to fans or players maybe retiring from the sport, but also seeing the negative response referees receive and the antisocial behavior. But then again, we just have to do our job by encouraging those who want to play the game, who want to be administrators such as us, but also those who want to officiate by coming out and just supporting the game. And these times it's more challenging because there are a lot more other activities that are available in Bermuda than maybe 15, 20 years ago. But we just have to play our role by encouraging groups that we haven't really looked at, maybe youth and females. I think there's a large opportunity for them to come on board. And if you look at some of the FIFA and even, I believe, CFU CONCACAF matches, we have seen a pool of female referees officiate a match without any male counterparts. And last week at BAA between the Boulevard Community Club and I believe it was St. David's Warriors, there was a trio of females. There was a female 2 VARs and one in the middle without any male support, and did a great job. So that shows us that just as women play football, they can also officiate the game. And it's not just now that's been identified, but in Bermuda we have to change our mindsets about the contributions that females make to the game outside of the boardroom and as players. They can also be match officials.
If the number one problem seems to be the abuse that the refs get, how is the BFA going to crack down on that to make sure the refs get better treatment? That way it encourages more people to come out.
Well, the clubs are really primarily responsible for that. They provide the stewards to make sure the referees are taking care of as soon as they enter the grounds, escorted to and from the match pitch at halftime, prior to the game, and post-match. But it's also for clubs to talk to their fans, because the BFA is not in charge of the fans. The fans come because they support a particular club or team or they love the game, to make them aware that regardless of the result or the decision that the referee makes, that even in the EPL we see those professionals, they get it wrong. It's still human error at the end of the day. No one goes out there deliberately to do something wrong, and if it happens, you make your comments, but it's the way you make your comments. And we know football's a very emotional game, but there's a way to indicate to another person that you were not pleased with the decision they made, but understand that they had 22 players on the pitch at one point, and we have the luxury on the sideline and making comments where we may be wrong, because we had a different angle saying it wasn't offside, but the referee is right. But if 500 people make the same comment, it's just a little bit overwhelming.
I guess just to add to Don's question, I think what he was trying to ask is, has the association addressed that with the clubs to combat what goes on the sideline, or at least address it?
We've discussed with the clubs, and that's why the steward program was brought in many years ago, and is still continuing to address that with the clubs, to say, take the responsibility for the hospitality aspect and the safety of match officials at the ground. Therefore, for your match to be played under the direction of the Bermuda Football Association, and you know your fans better and your supporters better than anyone else, and it's for you to interact with them, to let them know what the game is about, and to make sure that if something happens at your ground where the BFA's 15 officials are not going to be there at any particular time, you have to address that with your safety and security team, the stewards, or by informing the association through the match, to the referee's report, that we have to take action. But we cannot be at every ground and every day. But I think maybe there can be another message. But we had a flyer up or a poster last season: take back the game, respect the referee. So we have been addressing that. But still, clubs have to take responsibility. Players and the individual that goes to the game has to take responsibility for their own actions.
And Lyndon, is it a tougher job now than it was when you first started? Bear in mind, no players, reaction to your supporters. Do you find it harder now than you first started? Or?
It is a little harder, primarily because I think, if I say this the right way, this new generation of players, they don't seem to have the same level of respect for the game itself, not so much just for the referee, but for the game itself, has made refereeing a little bit more difficulty.
Is there a move by the BFA or the Referees Association to court recently retired players to give back?
Our message, and I think we had a similar discussion a couple of years ago, when we talked about so many of our ex-players who couldn't make a contribution to football instead of walking away. I mean, our message is to everybody. We have a wide open hand to anybody who loves the game. It would be fantastic to have ex-players because they obviously would have been respected on the field as a player. Hopefully they would have seen themselves on the field as a player and now can look through the eyes of a
On Sunday, there was a noticeable absence of match commissioners who kind of, in some way, shape, or form, assist the referees. Is there a problem there as well?
You would know that there's been reduced funding inside the association as it is across the entire island. So we don't technically have the luxury of distributing, so we say, match commissioners across the entire spectrum like we did a couple of years ago. What you will see, match commissioners appointed to what we call significant matches, or matches that have a higher level of risk or have been assessed to be needing attention, and therefore you won't see them at every match.
Is it primarily first division or premier division, or that you would, who deems what's high and what's not?
The committee are responsible for match commission appointments.
Okay.